Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of the Call of Vlog Talk podcast. It's your boy John. And we're here not to bring you the latest football, but our top 10 signings. This has been a staple for I think is at least 4 years now. And yeah, we continue to do so. I know I promised some other content, but I figured that because we're going to do the top 10 signings, we'll do that now. And during the next international break, like the stuff I had with the data analysts and stuff like that, we'll see if those takes for dead. So, to do this with me this evening, guys, I have Patrick. Daniel, was it good, my guy?
Yeah, they are they. How everybody going?
And we have Brandon. Brandon, was it good?
Pleasant good night or good day or good morning to everybody.
Brandon, just putting you on the spot here real fast for you. So for those of you who don't know, which most of you won't know, is that Brandon has been afforded the opportunity to be a commentator at his former university. Well, he now graduated at his universities. What games you commentated on? What sports? Was it
I
all?
doing I doing football and I doing the men's and women's games.
Nice. So if you could just give me like very briefly what that has been like.
Oh well, yesterday was more technical issues than anything because it was rain and because I'm doing it remotely, so there was rain, so
Yeah.
the feed was kind of bad. And then today was much better. I got two full games.
Mm.
I won one draw and a 4-1 win. So it was it
Oh,
was interesting.
so
Yeah.
when you say football, you mean like men's soccer?
Yeah, men's soccer, women's soccer.
Uh,
Yeah,
let's go. Nice.
yeah.
Nah,
Nice,
I thought they
man.
had it on like a Tom Brady thing.
Nah. And
Nah,
well,
Mm.
the only issue is like because it's a remote thing, I can't see some of the numbers and players a lot very easily. So
fair enough.
that's kind of
You
the
don't get you don't
adjustment.
get a sheet.
Yeah. I have a sheet, but it kind of still hard to decipher between like a 8 and
Fair
a
enoth.
5 or something like that.
Nah, that a good point. What team? I'll tune in on and here we are this
Saint
team.
Saint Thomas University, the
St. Thomas.
Atlantic
Okay.
Collegiate Athletics Association is the conference.
That is NCAA and NAIA.
Nah, that's Canadian.
Oh, can oh, my bad. But yeah, I'll think it there.
Yeah,
Cool.
I was
Nice.
Canadian story.
All right, say no more.
Yeah,
Nice, cool. Hey, we are very proud of you, Brand. What just wanted
thank
to
you,
play
thank
on
you,
the
thank
spot so we can tell you that. So this is this. Okay, cool. So like we said, guys, top 10 signings. I don't know about y'all, but even doing this, I was kind of underwhelmed. I just feel like the last few years, like there were these so many blockbuster moves that like made it hard to decide. Like I mean, I remember last year, like we was ranking one to three different $100 million signings. You know, like
Mm-hmm.
it is a difference, right? But I guess it bears on more conversation. So without further ado, we're gonna all go from 10 go up, and yeah, we're just gonna see where that goes from there. So, Brandon, why don't you kick us off, bro? Who do you have in 10? Actually, before you do that, I'm gonna just let each one of us say like what was the barometers we used. For me, obviously, transfer fee is one, but also looking at the potential impact that we could be seeing that these players would have on their team. And you know, when we look at what the different teams that they've signed to, what their objectives might be, and how critical that we could see them being in achieving these objectives or even surpassing them. So yeah, that was me. I'm not sure if you all wanted to add anything to that.
I I paid a lot more attention to the impact that I feel like they could have on the team. And
Mm-hmm.
when I say impact on the team, not so much like okay, maybe how much goals they could score, whatever, but more like do I think they could get the team up to the next level or maybe like maintenance, depending on what team it is. I tried to actually not pay too much attention to transfer fee this time because I feel like in terms of value, it's hard to decide how much a team itself could value maybe the jump from fourth to third, for example, or maybe from fifth to fourth if it's a Premier League team, you know. That's
Mm-hmm.
between UCL ball and not. So it's hard to put a number on that if a particular player could help them make that jump. I mean, that being said, value is another metric
Part of the
that like
conversation.
you have to,
Yeah.
yeah. So yeah.
Brandon, anything?
Yeah, mine was just simply the transfer, the I think the gap between what the evaluation was and what the team actually paid, also the impact, and my list is more like a generalization of like where some of these players fit in the grand scheme of all the transfers. 'Cause remember, we're just doing 10, so it's just a general idea where other players might rank in terms of their transfers as well.
Cool, nice. All right, Brandon, kick us off. Who do you have in 10th place, bro?
I have Julian Alvarez as number 10, and I have him at number 10 because I he got his fee was 75 million, and I I honestly don't think that there is much that Julian Alvarez can add to Atletico Madrid. And I
Mm,
think taking the price into consideration, I think there's a lot of money to pay for him to come in, and we already seen how he started so far. It's been very rough for him. He hasn't gotten on the score sheet yet.
mm-hmm.
So I this is just a general idea of where I see some of these transfers. So this would be like in the bottom tier of transfers for me. But yeah, Julian Alvarez would be the poster boy of that bottom tier because I don't know how much he adds to Atletico Madrid. I think City got an insane deal for him. I think that's a lot of money to pay for him. I know
Mm-hmm.
he's a really talented player, but yeah, for me that's definitely a number 10.
Yeah, fair enough. Patrick, did you have Alvarez at all? If you did, you could just say that he'll be higher if he's the same thing. But
No, I have him, but not at number 10. But I have him
okay.
somewhere in my list for sure.
Oh well,
Um,
then this hella controversial then, because he's not even in my list.
oh,
Reason
fair
being
enough.
is because of the stuff that Brandon said there that they are concerns, right? And I was watching even the most recent lineups and saw a lot was benched for him, and I think that if he continues on this run, then Solot is gonna get game time to play with Griezmann, and Solid is already accustomed to that league, accustomed scoring in that league. And so while I don't think I'm not saying he flop or nothing, because I do think they probably will more see him as a successor to Griezmann in the longer term too. But for the immediate, I'm not sure if there will be the immediate first season impact from him that you would want from the 80 million signing. I'm not sure how they feel about
Hmm.
Mhm.
Um,
that.
I guess I'll just save my thoughts on him for when I come
So
across
yeah.
that point, I guess.
Yeah, well tell us
Um,
who was yours one time, no?
well, mine, and I feel like this one might be slightly controversial. I went for Solanke in at 10th. I feel like he's a slightly overrated signing, to be honest. I know Spurs have been crying out for a centre forward, but I saw people making parallels between him and Kane. I feel like that's utter nonsense. Um,
Yeah, I think that's a bit stretch.
Stylistically, I don't see it, to be honest with you. I could be blind though, but I don't see the similarities with how they play. I think Solanke is someone that really wants to be like I see him as a more natural number 9, to be honest. Not someone that really want to drop deep and link the play and all that. I think he wants to stay in the
Hmm.
box and score. And that being said, right, I feel like Spurs borderline loses some of their attacking prowess with someone like Solanke. And again, this is highly controversial, but I like how Spurs look when the front four interchange a lot. I
Hmm.
think they've looked best with Kulusevski at number 9, and it's because he doesn't really play number 9. He might drift onto the left, and Son will fill in that gap, and then maybe sometimes Madison fills in Son's gap, and Johnson is somewhere, and it's so fluid going forward. I mean, I really like it. So again, it could be down to my own bias. I think Solanke will score a lot of goals for Spurs, but at the end of the day, I can't see Solanke helping Spurs get to the next level. I think it's going to probably be somewhere between fifth and seventh for Spurs to finish again. If Solanke
Hmm.
was somehow able to bring them into the top four this season, then I will hold my hands up and I will eat my words. But I don't see it, and that's why I put him at 10th.
Fair enough. For me, I went with 7 million signing, left the Premier League, went to the Bundesliga, and I went with Pascal Grob, who signed for Dortmund. I think he's been a stalwart of the Premier League for the last few years, and I think he's underappreciated by probably the wider public. But I think he's a fantastic player, and I think about when I look at potential impact, especially for the value of the player, I think that there's a huge upside there. I know that he's older at this point. I think he's 32 actually, but I still think that there's so much upside to him. I think there's a reason that he got called up to the German national team for the Euro squad, and I think they might see that even more in the Bundesliga next year. I mean, I think that the start of the season has shown that it could be a very fluid top four for them this season between The winners like Leverkusen, they want to be winners in Bayern Munich. Sorry, with Stuttgart still seeming like they ready to fight for this UCL ball again. Plus, you have the Dortmund and the Leipzig and stuff. And I think that one is all said and done. Group contribution in that midfield could potentially be a big difference maker between them finishing outside the top four and being in Champions League again. So
Mm.
yeah, cool. Anybody? I only want to say anything. No, cool. We can move on from
I mean,
there.
I see where you're coming from for sure. I will say though, he didn't make it into my list, but
Yeah, neither
spoiler
mind.
alert, you know.
No, that's
But
fine.
I
That's
mean,
fine.
I see the thought process though, and I think it makes sense.
In next place, I will already. And next up, I have Onana for Aston Villa. I think that he was. Oh, Jesus Christ. I think that he was somebody. I think that a lot of big clubs, sorry, with no disrespect to Aston Villa, should have been signing. I think that he's already Premier League acclimated. He is a starter at his national team level with a country like Belgium. And I think he's a fantastic player. I know 50 million is not no small fee, right? But at the same time, I think he's quality and he's been showing it in the first few games for them already. And I had Aston Villa finishing fifth, right? But I could see him being a great successor to what Douglas Luiz was doing last season, and probably even more. And when I look at some of the midfield issues we see with some teams already, and not just in the Premier League, but even outside, I think just with the fact that they got him, I think is a fantastic signing, and is one to look for coming out this season. Here, he already on the score sheet, I think, which is so like uncharacteristic of him per se, but he's already showing impact, and I think that'll just continue to grow. So, any of you all had Onana on your list?
Mhm.
Nice.
I
Okay.
don't.
So, we probably hit out. Is he out much higher, Brandon? Or okay, cool. Brandon, why don't you
Mm.
tell us who was your next one then?
Right. So my next one is actually a bit of a wild card. I put number 9 as my only duo of the list, and that duo is Mario Hermoso and Matt Hummels going to Roma. I think that is an excellent piece of business by Roma, and I think last season Roma really struggled defensively. They didn't have I don't think they had a top 5 defense in the league, and I think signing those two players really that really will take them up a level. And I think they already have a very good team. So I think
Mm-hmm.
once they are able to gel and acclimate themselves to the league quickly, I think Roma could be on for a very good season this season. So yeah, I think and Ramos was a free agent, I believe. I can't remember how much Hermoso was, but um, yeah, for me that's just number 9 because it I couldn't put one of them and not put the other, so I decided to put them together. So
Mm.
That's cheating, eh? But you're
well,
like,
you're getting Hummels anyway, so you had to take both of them. Yeah, and both of
yeah.
them for free.
I think it's a good call, though. I think it's a really good call, and I mean, I've said this before that I really do like what De Rossi has had them doing. I think them keeping Dybala is a big thing for them, and even
Right.
somebody else I was looking at was even Dovbyk, who they signed from Girona last year, as somebody that can make a big impact for them in this season. So yeah, cool. I like that. Patrick, what about you, bro?
Yeah. No, first of all, I mean, just to give our 2 cents on that, I really liked Roma's transfer business
Mm-hmm.
this season, this transfer
Mhm.
window, whatever. Yeah, that's all I have to say on that. And number 9 for me, another serious one from left field. I don't even know if anybody might have. Come now, Siri, oh gosh. I don't know if anybody might even have this guy, but I went for Mason Greenwood to Marseille, and I am a without getting cancelled, I'm a big football fan of Greenwood's football on the field. Um, I think he's an excellent player. I was happy for him to make this move because I feel like it is a good step in the right direction to get his career back onto the right path. But let's talk about the transfer for a little bit. Over the last 3 seasons, Marseille have made a title push 2 out of those 3 seasons, right? And right now, I checked their position in the table, and they're back again in the top 4. Yes, it's only 3 games played, whatever. Greenwood himself has already hit the ground running. I think he has like 3 goals for them already, couple assists. I think Greenwood could tip Marseille into a title charge, maybe even winning the title with how PSG looks kind of dead right now, you know. Um, I have him at ninth though because it's only so much, you know, a Greenwood transfer is going to get you excited. But I think that this is a really good move for Marseille. It's a really good move for Greenwood. They bought him for 25 mil, and I think that might be in euros, not pounds. Um, and yeah, I really do think that he, with the amount of goals that he brings to the table, I really do feel like he could get Marseille into a title race for Liga. So that's why I have him at nine. That's why he's on the list, to be honest.
Fair enough. Um, do you have Greenwood, Brandon?
No, I don't.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Well, Brandon, what's your eighth one now?
My eighth one is actually Onana. I agreed with everything you
Oh, let's
said
go.
from number nine. I think Onana is a great pickup for them. I know he did cost a lot of money though.
Mm-hmm.
But however, I think it is not justified, but it's a reasonable price to pay for somebody like him. He's a very unique type of player. He has a unique profile, a unique body type, um, lengthy, as the FIFA community would say. And I think he will do really well for Villa, especially when they have to go into the Champions League, because
Yeah.
we have all seen this over the years. Whenever you have good midfields, that is what wins your Champions League games. And he is a player that will go from minute zero to minute 90. And I think that will help
Yeah.
them along the way. And he's already showing himself to be a good attacking threat as well, which is something that they kind of lost with Douglas Luiz. So he has to fill that gap now. So I couldn't put him any higher, but I think eight is reasonable.
Yeah, I agree with what you say, right? And I mean, look, I think that I already said that I think multiple teams should have been in for him, you know, and at the same time they get in him. I think that on the whole, because I don't have another Aston Villa signing on here, so I'll say this now. I think on the whole, their window was pretty good. You know, I think especially now when you draw parallels between their window now and then the window Newcastle had last year when they had their reintroduction in Champions League. This one feels like, and this could be famous last week, but that they learned some lessons from what Newcastle did last year. I think they fortified themselves a lot better and made it in a way that their squad could compete both in Europe and in midweek and weekend. Midweek. Oh my god, that
Yeah.
was terrible. Midweek weekend over and over and over. So yeah, cool. My eighth one is Brandon Salik's favorite player. I'm just might be on his head in Chief Mount Rushmore. And it is former Chelsea captain Conor Gallagher.
Oh my God.
And
Oh.
part of it is right is that it's not so much that he's super excited or whatever, but bro, like I think like if you couldn't script a player that probably suits the way Simeone wants a midfielder to be, all dog, run 100%, be available on the counter, and for all the things that he does lack, he is a really good like late arrival in the box, a good finisher, in the correct setup, and so I think this could be like so funny, but I think it can actually work out really well for Conor Gallagher at Atletico, especially because they play this three-man midfield with this 5-3-2, and their midfielders are asked to be so two-way. And I think that's one of his strengths, his industry, the ability to add on both ends. Not so much passing wise, but in just being a presence in the final to try and get some shots off. We really saw that more at Palace than really at his Chelsea stint. But if he can really discover some of that, then yeah, I think he has some value to add to Atletico. Do you disagree, Brandon?
No, the only thing I didn't agree with you when you said that you find the transfer window is kind of boring. But now that I hear that you have Conor Gallagher at number eight, I kind of agree with you.
Fair enough, boy. Patrick, what do you have, bro, in it?
Well, I have another Villa guy, only guy from Villa, in this list. I just want to put it out there. The reason Villa gets Onana is because everybody will call him Andre. His name is Amadou. Okay,
Mhm.
only Unai knew that, so that's why he had to go to there. Um, I went for Matson at number eight, and I think I really think this is a smart signing. Um, mainly because I've seen over the last couple of seasons how Emery seems to want to use his fullback. We saw it with Digne last season, super attacking. Um, but obviously needs to have the legs more
Yeah.
importantly than anything else to get forward and back because that's one of the demands of an Emery fullback. And then we saw it previously too with Alex Moreno, right? Really similar role. I think Matson is a step above those two. No disrespect to Digne. He had a fantastic season last season. He's not all that though. Matson, bro, when he's subbed on, he's looked really, really promising so far. And I think it's only a matter of time before he starts games. I feel like he'll help them out a lot in the Champions League as well, especially for how that Villa team plays. They don't really have much dominance on the left side. They really do rely on a lot of quality from that left fullback doing a lot of bits in the attacking roles because they don't play so much with a left winger. And yeah, I really do think Matson could stand up to the test. Does he help them stay in the top four this season in the Prem? I don't know. I don't think so though. Because at the end of the day, he's still a left back. How much could he really help? But yeah, I think it's a really, really smart signing, and that's why he came in at number 8 for me.
Well, let me ask this then, right? And we could talk about probably like a few of the teams you mentioned, and probably should probably go with Aston Villa first, right? How now that the window is closed, how are we feeling about Villa's fortunes for the season? Obviously, the goal for them would be like the bare minimum of staying in the Champions League. You know, anything else
Mhm.
would be seen as regressing. But staying in the Champions League, do we think that after the window is it feasible?
Yeah,
I don't think so.
you don't think so?
Nice. Great. That's
No.
so good. That's so good. Right. Brandon, you go first.
I just think they have a very sustainable way of constructing the team for the different competitions that they're going to be in. Like I think at the start of the season, I don't think anybody thought that Morgan Rogers was going to be as exciting as he's looked in the past for the first 3 games of the season. I think we've yet to see Jacob Ramsey return to the team and make the spot in the team his own. I think there are many Villa defenders that have a lot more to show than they've been showing so far for the beginning of the season. And the most important thing is Watkins has not been on it. We could have been talking about a situation where Watkins could probably have about 4 goals already. Should have had 2
Right.
against Arsenal. Instead, we talking about how he had an assist. And that is not what we want to be talking about when we talk about Ollie Watkins. So right now, if you're judging it on right now, and I understand why people would say that, but if you're looking at it long term, Watkins not going to continue to be as off as he is, and even if he is, John Duran seems to be a good backup for him, and I
Yeah,
think
boy.
their recruitment has been really good. I think they could sustain the 4th place at least.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Was the rebuttal,
No,
boy?
I mean, I didn't mean to be that harsh with Villa, and I wouldn't be surprised at all if they do. Right? I'm not saying like yes, 100%. I think that they're dropping down to 6th, but I don't think that it as promising, at least in my opinion. I don't see all that level of promise. And it kind of comes down to 2 things. One, I feel like there are 2 particular teams that I feel could make the push and do it based on how they're looking right now. I think Spurs might actually give them a run for their money. And funny enough, I think Newcastle could potentially do it as well. I know Newcastle has started the season looking very shaky, but Newcastle have this thing about playing at home, where they don't lose somehow. I don't know how. And with Tonali back, I think and I actually like how Isak is looking. So now the second thing is, and this to me, I think this is where the make or break will be for me. I've seen in the past through 2 different teams now where Emery strikers have fell off in the second/third season. Saw it with what's his name? Gerard Moreno. He had a significant fall off, and I think I want to say Oba had
It
kind of
was
dipped
more
off.
lacquer, but
Okay.
yeah, over.
But I've seen strikers under his system kind of dip off a little bit, and I feel it could come down to the types of pressures that will be on the striker in his system, because his strikers do get all the chances, and if you're scoring, great, and if you're not scoring, oh shucks. I think
Yeah.
Ollie Watkins will be fine. I honestly do, but I also think that there's a world out there where he struggles to catch himself this season, especially with the start that he's had so far, and that is going to define their season. I think their season is
Could
defined on if Watkins can score or not.
could I also add to that that does put pressure on players like Leon Bailey and Philogene to be able to step up to that level too and be able to contribute significantly across the campaign. Like I think Bailey had a good season last year. I'm not saying no, but we
Hmm.
know his fitness history and we know that leads to inconsistency as well. So we're
Oh,
looking
he's
at
injured
there.
now, isn't he?
I'd say that there was a concern with him after the last game. He did come off for Philogene self, and so
Yeah,
then now you're
and it's
looking
for a
at
hamstring.
it was is John Durant, is Ollie Watkins, is Jason Philogene, and then you're looking at Leon Bailey as the attacking four. Now I still think that is a better four than some of the others,
Hmm.
but even when you look at teams like Spurs and like the reason that like even though I think I could see Salagi being a success, the reason like Salagi wasn't in my top 10 is because I when I watch Spurs and I get what you say with the interchange and stuff, Pat, and I agree with that too. But the other
Hmm.
side of it is that even when they do play Solanke, Son goes back to being a left winger, and I think that especially in the way that Ange plays, he doesn't really thrive playing as a left winger in that system. Now he is Son, he will still get goals, but he isn't maximizing because of the way he wants to use his wingers, and so that's the only reason Solanke wasn't in it because I could also see a scenario where just to maximize Son, because he's proven a commodity, they put him
Right.
back in nine and stuff like that, right? But as away from
Hmm.
the point of, yeah, I think that there's a lot of pressure there for players who may not have proven it yet to do it back to back, but I could see both sides of all the arguments of where it could go and where it can't go for them. In terms of other teams here, um, well, we mentioned Atletico twice now too, right? Part of why I was willing to put Gallagher too was that Atletico were not. I'm not gonna say lucky, but they were underwhelming even in beating Inter Milan last year and then got knocked out. They were underwhelming in the league, and I think that now that they had a really strong window because of the two players we mentioned, plus Solot, plus Lenormand, and I think they
Norman.
signed, yeah, and I think they signed somebody else too who's slipping my mind. But that's a really really strong window then. So then now, are we expecting them to try and push the big two for the league this year and possibly even make a run in Champions League? What are we thinking about Atletico?
Yeah, I think I think La Liga is going to be a lot more competitive this season,
Mm-hmm.
unless Madrid just goes ahead and does what everybody expects them to do. But I was real happy with Atleti's transfer window, and I think that Lenormand. I mean, spoiler alert, he's not in my top 10, but I was trying so hard to get him in because I really like what he could possibly bring to the Athletic
Big
team,
McLean,
especially
yeah.
when if they are a team that wants to finally explore, building, which I think over the last year they have. I think he takes them a step above when it comes to being able to play out the back because he looks so comfortable for Spain, and obviously managed to go all the way
Mm-hmm.
as well. So it's always good to get another winner in your team. Atleti on a whole, though, yeah, I do think they could push the top two. I do.
Yeah. Brandon, you feel any way about it or?
I actually I kind of feel the opposite, boy. I feel like
Mm-hmm.
Atletico might be closer to fourth than anything this season. I feel
Mm-hmm.
like I'm kind of getting I'm kind of getting to the stage now where I think something at Atletico is getting stale, and I can't tell you what it is. I don't know if it's Griezmann, I don't know if it's Simeone, I don't know if it's the style of football. I don't know what it
Yeah.
is, but I think something at Atletico is getting stale, and I don't think they're going to be as convincing this season as they might have been for other seasons. I actually don't think they were very convincing last season. But I know some people still think that they played well and they did well, but I didn't see it that way. I thought they were kind of
Yeah.
underwhelmed the whole season.
Yeah. Yeah. Cool. Nice. Good with that. All right, cool. Let me go up on next one. Well, Patrick said that he think PSG has been underwhelming, and I have a PSG side next. And the Portuguese midfielder in João Neves, man, I think he's been sensational. And I actually think that PSG look this guy sounds so bad, but they look liberated. They do. And I mean, like, Barcola looks like a man on fire, bro. Like, he looks so good. It's totally justified starting in the France national team. Not justified playing under this coach, but that's a whole other question. But he has been really, really good for the start of the season. I think João Neves already has 3 assists. And on top of that, the midfield trio, him, Vitinha, and Oh my gosh.
Right?
Zaire Emery
Primary.
has, while I'm not sure how defensive it is, it has a really nice floated, and to be fair, probably is more emblematic of the way that Luis Enrique wants to play. And so, with all that in mind, he was a highly coveted player. And when I add that into the fact that he has started the life in Paris so well, I think that this could be one where PSG could surprise some people this season. And like, because like in the sense of like people expected them to fail because they lost Mbappe, right? And I completely understand that. And from that point of view, I think they could surprise some people with the quality that they might have on show. Now they'd have arguably the run of death in their fixtures, because they have one of the hardest runs. But I think even they could see their way coming out of that and still qualify for the knockout. So yeah, John Neves is mine. Is he in any of y'all? If not, could you explain to me why it is that he didn't qualify for your top 10?
Okay, right. Yes. Not in mine. And that might be down to a little oversight on my part because I completely forgot that he existed as a footballer. And as thus, if you don't know who he is, you can't
You
make
can't
your
write it up. You can't put him down.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
you
yeah,
just
yeah.
can't. No, but for what you're saying, and as soon as I mentioned his name, I was like, shucks, he would have make it into mine. I do think he would have make it into mine. PSG on a whole though, looking decent. Barcola is looking
Yeah, he looked like a
terrible.
man on fire.
Yeah,
Yeah.
jeez.
So yeah, Brandon, anything? He wasn't in yours, was
I
he?
don't have him in my list either.
Yeah.
And that is because the next person I have in the list I think was a better choice for this list.
Cool, nice.
Mm.
Well then go ahead and tell me one time now. Who do you have there?
Well, he is also a Portuguese midfielder, and his name is Palhinha, and he's gone to Bayern Munich. And I think that he was such a sought after midfielder for every single team in the world. I think he could have gone to literally any team, any big team. He could have gone to United, Arsenal, City, Chelsea, Barca, and he could have gone to all those teams,
Mm-hmm.
and he could have done really well there. And he's gone to Bayern. I think that helps Bayern a lot. I feel like Bayern have not had a solid
True. Yeah.
defensive midfielder since what's this guy's name? Javi Garcia.
In
Javi
Yeah,
ages.
Martinez.
Martinez, not Garcia. He was also there though, but yeah. Yeah, I think they haven't had a really good defensive mid since that time. I don't really consider Thiago much of a defensive mid, even though he was playing that type of position.
Yeah,
But
yeah, yeah.
in terms of a real destroyer and a real combative midfielder, I think this is a huge signing for Bayern, and it will definitely help them, particularly in the Champions League. So for me, that was why I had that at 7.
Well, I like to tell you, spoiler alert, he was actually sixth in mine. Because same reasons, bro. I think he's a phenomenal signing. And again, like I think like part of the logic with him and even the same with Onana, even though I think that there are differences to their game, is that shows that that position is so coveted in the windows now because it's a rare commodity. And so the teams that did manage to pick them up, kudos to them for getting those deals over the line. So yeah, I wouldn't even bother to add them because you said everything excellently well as to what I would have said. Patrick, what was your next up on your list, bro? This would be your seventh.
Seventh, huh? Yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, first of all, I agree with everything you said about Palhinha, by the way. Things are excellent signing. And I'll talk about him later. But, yeah, number 7. Again, maybe another one from left field. Doubt anybody has him, which is crazy to say because I reached number 7 already. But I went with Lukaku to Napoli,
Okay.
and yeah, and
I could see it, bro. I could see the logic.
Nah, I hear it. I hear it.
exactly. I mean, it's a guy that is comfortable scoring goals in this league. You know what I mean? I think he might get more service in that Napoli team with playing next to Cava, however the hell, and is Politano playing on that side now? I don't even know.
Yeah,
Politano,
yeah,
Yeah,
Simeone,
yeah.
whoever they play, but they have shown a willingness to feed their striker, and the main reason I think that this is such a good sign is because they lost Osimhen. That I think Lukaku could pick up the mantle, maybe not score as much, but score a decent amount, especially in the league. Now outside the league, when it comes to Europe and whatever, no, they're not even in Europe.
They're not in Europe.
So,
They're not in Europe.
so there we go.
Yeah. No
I do think he could.
problemos. No
Yeah,
problemos.
I think he could score. I honestly think he could score enough to get them fighting for that top tier again, and hopefully back into the UCL by next year. Because the
Yeah.
fall off for Napoli has just been horrendous. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And he's familiar with Conte.
That too. I didn't even consider that. So that too, and then all of that, they got him for 30 million euros. I think that's good for
Yeah.
Lukaku, for a man that is proven in the league. Like, please, let's
Yeah.
forget everything we know about Lukaku, what we've seen over the summer and whatever. He scores goals in that league. You know what I mean? And when you give him service, he does score a lot of goals. So,
Yeah.
yeah, man, I think 7 is about the highest I would give him. I like Lukaku as a player. I think he's top 5 funniest footballers of all time. So I had to
Yeah.
put him in somehow, and maybe 7 is our reach. But yeah, man, I really wanted to get him in there.
Well, I mean, it all depends on what kind of impact he ends up having, right? Because if he gets them into the Champions League from finishing 10th, that's a massive impact, And so, yeah, it all depends on that. And I mean, I see the logic in it. I mean, I know all the narratives around Lukaku, and I don't think that they are all invalid. But if one thing has remained true throughout Lukaku's whole career is that he scores goals. He has
I mean,
scores goals, and more so in that league than anywhere else. Well, actually, that's not even true. That one Prem record is actually very, very good. But he has
true,
proven to score league goals very well.
true, and just to top it off, I mean, Doug, he scored in extra time the other day to help them dig out a win. I mean,
26
what more
minutes
do you?
into his debut.
Yeah,
26 minutes into
what
his debut.
that's what I'm saying. Like, what more? It's a good start. It's a good start.
And it was the most atypical Lukaku goal you could ask for. He hold back the defender, let the ball run across his body, and then slam it across the goal. Most atypical
That's what
Lukaku. Hey,
Lukaku is all about. Come on now.
I hear that, bro. Well, look, in sixth place, I have Paulinia. I have nothing more to add to that than what Brandon said. I think it's a fantastic side. And yeah, cool. Why don't you go again now, Patrick? Who do you have in sixth? And then we can probably
In
take a look back
sixth
at some of these
place,
teams.
this is where I get to talk a little bit about Palinia, not because I included him, but because I included the Frenchman Olise. So I get to talk a little bit about Bayern. Um,
Yeah.
the reason that Palinia is not in my list, right? I think that company is really going to hold their men back. And at the end of the day, as good as Palinia is, he might have to pull off a borderline miracle to help them defensively. Because I've seen how they're looking, and they ain't looking too good right now, bro.
It's been jokes.
Um,
It has been
yeah,
jokes. That's probably the best way to call it.
yeah. Now, I put Olise in simply because he's an attacker and they are playing some attacking football. That's why I feel like maybe for this season or for as long as company lasts, maybe Olise might shine a little bit more than Palinia. And it's nothing down to Palinia himself. I really think it's down to bad management. That being said, though, I think Palinia will succeed at Bayern, just maybe in the coming months, maybe not like immediately. And that's just my opinion on it. And then Olise, bro, I was a huge fan of Olise. I think that they have acquired a really special and talented player. Um, I think that he's also what they needed. I feel like they needed to replace Sane for a couple reasons. I mean, let's just go with the off-field stuff first. We're talking. This is a known bad attitude player, a known troublemaker in the camp and so on and so forth. But then his on-field contributions to me last season, apart from the first couple of months, weren't all that. You know what I mean? And then some with Germany as well, I felt like a bit underwhelming, So I really feel like Sane is starting to dip off, or maybe has already dipped off. I feel like getting
Mm-hmm.
Olise in, getting that fresh blood in was the right move. And a lot of people, when they holding on to big players like Sane, big names at least, might be timid to try and replace them, while they still feel like, yo, we could get something out of this guy. I think it was an excellent move to go ahead and try to replace them. And so they have. I mean, Olise has started every game so far, and I haven't really seen Sane. So yeah, I think Olise is gonna do really well for Bayern. And yeah, that's why I've included him at sixth.
Yeah, I mean, I like to tell you, I had Olis too, but I was really trying my best not to have more than one person of the same team. I was
Okay, no.
trying to, and I think that for the all the reasons you said that he could be a very good impact. And I mean, I look at the trajectory he's taken over this last year too, right? Obviously his numbers for Crystal Palace this calendar year was great. He obviously had a really good Olympics, and now he's getting called up to the national team. And even though France lost the other day, I thought that he was pretty strong. So yeah, totally agree. Salik, what's your next one, bro?
That's number 6, right?
Yeah,
Mhm.
6.
Yeah, my 6 is Teun Koopmeiners going from Atalanta to Juventus. I think that Thiago Motta moving to Juventus and the style of football that he wants to play, I think that Koopmeiners for let me make sure I'm saying this right, 54.7 million
It is
euros.
54.7.
That
I have
is a very good price for such a player. I think it dents Atalanta a lot, and I think it improves them significantly. And I really do think that the kind of signings that Juventus have made, I expect them to
good.
be gunning for the league this season, and I think they will do well in Champions League as well.
Mm. I agree, and I think that it's worthy of a number 6 borderline, maybe even top 5. Um, but I'm
Well,
done.
he's fifth for me.
Well, God, I don't want.
Everything Brandon say, bro. Hey, I've been a Koopman as fan for like so long, bro. He's so good, and I mean, just to touch on the last point you made there, I think Juventus signings have been quite strong. And like I know that they drew one of the opening games, but the one that I did watch, which was a 3-0 win, I think it was really strong. I think getting him and Douglas Luiz is really, really nice midfield revamping. And moving on from Rabiot and stuff like that. I think this is some really good stuff. And even I think another Juve signing that I think will do well too is Conceição. The few times I saw him for Portugal, and when he played against us, I was impressed by him a lot. I think he's one to watch, as they look to create that attacking triangle on top there with Vlahovic as well. I think he's one to watch. So yeah, bro. Nothing more to add there. We mentioned some Serie A teams so far, so let me just take a quick pause here. In terms of the Serie A, right? We looking at Juve. We have mentioned Napoli here. We didn't really mention anybody from Inter. I don't think y'all will have anybody from Inter. All your top 5 from now on. No anybody from. We mentioned Roma as well earlier, and we're not gonna mention AC Milan either. So, are we looking at a kind of Jolton shake up in the top 4 from the last few years into the season coming here? What do you guys think?
Top 4 Serie A, I mean.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think there's going to be a lot more competition this year in Serie A. I think it's going to be I mean, it'll be a better watch overall this season. And I think Italian teams overall this season going to have a better outing in Europe. I mean, Atalanta won the um, Europa, yeah, Europa League. So I think they're going to be much better this season. Most of them, and the table is not. I don't think it's going to be much similar to how it looked last season.
So yeah, go ahead now.
Oh yeah, no, I mean all I was gonna say is just I agree with what Brandon said, and this is probably the season that I end up watching a lot more Serie A than I usually do. Because spoiler alert, I don't really watch much of that league. But it's looking good right now. Juve looks really good, and I wouldn't be surprised if Inter were to win again. But I do think that the landscape of the league is going to be really different to how it was last season as well. So fully agree with Brandon.
Cool. As we go into fifth now, well, I already said my fifth, right? So why don't Brandon? You give us your fifth place.
Well, I was just telling Daniel that I think my number 5 will be one of the most shocking ones of the episode. My number 5 is Ilkay Gundogan returning to Manchester City.
I love it.
On a free after making profit on him. Not profit, but selling them for money and then getting them back for free. That's one
I love
aspect.
it.
And the second aspect is when you bring back such a player who has experience not only with the team but winning with the team. I think one thing that City didn't have last season and a lot of the big moments, especially in the Champions League, is that they really were lacking some of that X factor that he has been known for. And I think him returning just does not spell good for the rest of the teams in the league as well as teams in the Champions League, because if you need to rest one player, he could play multiple roles. If somebody gets injured, he could fill that role. He's a good sub. He's a good leader. He's a good X factor. He's everything that they need. And I just think number 5 is fair enough because I think the other 4 bring in a lot more. But this is like the cusp of that for me, and I think Gundogan for sure will make 5.
Cool.
I
Patrick,
completely agree.
is yours
No,
fifth?
I completely agree with Brandon, by the way. Um, my fifth player, however, is Marino for Arsenal,
Okay.
obviously. Yeah, and I think he plugs a big gap in that team right now. We've seen how Rice has looked there,
Not
and Rice
right
is a
now, though.
phenomenal player.
Not right
But
now.
well,
And I
not
won't
right
be
now.
for the
Yeah,
foreseeable future,
yeah.
apparently.
So from November, go on.
Yeah, from
Um,
November.
how unfortunate, you know. But anyway, yeah, I think it's a good acquisition, not just because it plugs a gap, but I think he's the right type of player to plug that gap to. We've seen Arsenal want to use physical type of players in that midfield. And don't sleep on Odegaard, because Odegaard is physical as well. He mightn't be big and strong like them, but he puts in the yards, you know. So from that aspect, I think like it's a smart acquisition, and but mainly because he has been known to chip in with goals from midfield, and I think that's exactly what like Arsenal, not really what they need because they've been doing it, but I think he just carries on the flow, if that makes sense. From what Xhaka was able to do in his time, and I don't like as good as Rice is. I think Rice looks excellent at number 6 and should be played there. I think Marino frees that up. So all that to say that I gave you all my criteria before we started the list. And if you listen to, I think like 3 weeks ago when we did the predictions pod, I had Arsenal for finishing first. I think Marino will be like he will play a major role in getting them to first place.
Yeah, I mean, look, so my fourth place was actually Marino. And it's for a lot of the same reasons that you mentioned before, right? On top of the fact that, when we see the
John, do you have an original pick?
so all you want me to go first or something? But I can't even go first because
Because you're coming in later. You're coming in later.
yeah,
Mhm.
because mine is like one tier above, right? But whatever. Yeah. So I think Marino for the same reasons that Patrick said, and I think like even when we look at this season where Xhaka played there, I think a lot of the elements he adds that Xhaka did, I think he's a lot less dictator-ish in terms of wanting to be on the ball all the time, make 70, 80 passes. But I think like he'll be a lot better in the pockets. I think he's a lot more athletic player. I think that he could even add even more goals than what we saw Xhaka added to his game that one season. But yeah, I think that he does so much to help enhance the left-sided dynamic. Because I mean, when we look at Rice's average position so far this season, me and Sally talked about this on the pod last week. He basically has been almost a second striker, his average positioning, and that is not the maximizing of his assets, using him that high up in the final third. But I think somebody like Marino, who also played in the Premier League before as well, can add that to him. And I mean, when we were linked to him, I started to see like Newcastle fans talk about him and why he left originally. And they didn't want to sell him. But like he had put in this weird contract, this clause, sorry, in his contract where if a Basque region club had come in for him, that they had to sell him. And so when it is that Sociedad came for him, they didn't really have much of a choice to have to agree to sell him. He would have wanted to go home or something like that. But it seems like now he is ready to come back to the Premier League. And at 27 years old, he's now like middle of his prime. Just went through being part of the squad that won the Euros with Spain and has experience in the Champions League. And all that I think is really vital. And only for 28 million that could rise to 34. I think that was a really good deal. So
Yeah.
yeah. Was your unless you have anything to add to Brandon, what was your fourth choice?
No, I don't even have Marino in my list. So my number 4, and can't wait to see the look on Daniel based on I say this is
Yes.
Danny Olmo.
Uh-huh.
I think he is
Tell
one
you
of those
what,
players.
right? Don't I
Uh,
feel like I want to just give my first to third, right? I feel like I just want to give my first to third, so that way I don't have to say these bad names after. But
the first thing, two things, just real quick comments. One, I disrespect the Daniels everywhere. And then two, John, do you even have a list, bro? Or like plot twist, you just go in based off of what we saying? Because
apparently so. But it's not my fault. I have these men higher. Oh, they have no respect for Pascal Grom. That is what it is, though. They have no respect for Pascal Grom. That is where all this started. But yeah, go ahead now, sorry.
Yeah, so Danny Olmo, I think, is a huge improvement on whatever Barcelona have been trying to do for the past few years. On top of the fact that they have Hansi Flick as a new manager, and he understands the German style well. Daniel has spent majority of his career in the Bundesliga, so it's an easy transition for him. We all saw how he did in his first game, and I expect that to be the case for the rest of the season. I also think they did pay a bit of a high price for him, as some people might say. However, I think, and you all know that I'm not the biggest Daniel Olmo fan. However, I'm a big believer in taking players where they will succeed, and I think he will do really well at Barcelona. I personally think this transfer could have happened like 2 years ago, and probably should have happened 2 years ago. Barca might be in a much better position now, but in terms of this season, I have to put him at 4 because for me that takes them to a level of challenging for the league. I don't know if Daniel heard this on the pod last week, but I said that I think Lewandowski is going to top score the league, and I think Barcelona are going to be very very strong this season, and he is a huge reason why, because not only with his goals, I think he and Lewandowski will form a very good partnership, and that will only help them going forward. And in the Champions League too, he's an excellent Champions League performer, and I think that will also help them a lot. So I had to put him at 4.
I mean,
Patrick?
bro, I completely agree. And yes, I listened to last week's pod. 'Cause, I have to be there for all pods now, either in spirit or in person. But no, bro, trust me, I completely agree with everything you're saying. And I'm just gonna leave it at that for now. And we will circle back to Olmo in a little bit. I guess
What was
I'll
your fourth place, Patrick?
Yeah. So this is where I believe we were on completely different wavelengths. I was telling that to Brandon while they took a water break now. But yeah. So bathroom break. But anyway, this is where I had Julian Alvarez at fourth. Yeah, boy.
That
And
huge gap, you know.
That is
I
a
know, right?
huge
It's
gap. That is a
it is
huge gap.
insane. Yeah, from 10th to 4th. And
The
Not on
none
the
didn't
list.
even have
the
him.
tenth
Yeah.
of water not on the list, yeah.
Yeah. So clearly you're a little closer to your opinion on him than me, because I would assume John probably had him in his consideration, but he just didn't make
Correct.
it.
Yeah.
Um
I'm like full disclosure, I even had considered playing Solo. Just because I could see a scenario where he already is acclimatized to the league and could end up being the starter. And they only paid like 28 million for him. For somebody who
mhm,
top scored the league last year. Like
yeah,
like are we so like numb to these things? Like they paid that much for their league's top scorer.
right.
Are we that numb? But yeah, go ahead now.
No, I feel what you're saying, I can't I clearly did not put my biases for Alvarez aside, right? It's so clear because I really like him as a player, from a whole stylistic point of view, and then I really support Argentina as well. He's obviously been a major part to that team. Now here's my rationale, right? I think uh the way Atleti play, it definitely comes down to goals for them. Maybe that's, yes, you could say that might be the Atleti of the past. Um, but anyway, it comes down to, let me not say goals, it comes down to moments for them, right? And I do believe that Alvarez is one to capitalize on his moments. That's number one. Two, I understand that he's had a shaky start to the league, or maybe let me not even say shaky. He hasn't scored yet, right? But then what does he go and do on international break? I mean, scores are worthy, right? I don't know if y'all got to see the goal, but it was insane, and I didn't even realize his left was that good because he hit that ball pure. Um, the main thing for me though is that I really do think that he could strike up a great partnership with Griezmann, because I feel like there's a lot of parallels between Griezmann and Messi, and he has a phenomenal partnership with Messi in that Argentine team. So I was more hopeful on him being able to strike up a partnership with Griezmann. I understand that most people see Alvarez as a guy that could drop in and link the play and whatever. And maybe I I understand the rationale for, or the argument for saying that Alvarez and Griezmann are probably going to clash, but for Argentina, Alvarez does his thing successfully, and that's with dealing with Messi
Messi.
on the team as well, and
Yeah.
and they strike up a phenomenal relationship. I don't see why he and Griezmann can't do something very similar. And then the times that he's played number 9 for City, he's shown a significant potency in front of goal. So all this is to say that I expect him to score a lot of important goals for Atleti this season. And that is the type of player that he is. He does score really important goals. He did that for City as well. A lot of 1-0s with him. A lot of times to open his scoring was him again. And he does that without penalties as well. I think that they have acquired a really good player in Alvarez. They've also acquired finally a good right-footed set piece taker. He takes good free kicks from the right. He takes good corners from the right as well. He's scored free kicks and he's assisted from corners. And if they're going to move on from Griezmann or actually add some variety, because they have that wonderful left foot, a right foot would be really nice as well. That all culminates to me saying this. And I said it before. I think Atleti will push Barcelona and Madrid, and I think he'll be a significant part of that with his goals. He's a striker, so we measure him by goals. Yeah, that's the rationale for me. But you all, I'm not gonna lie, you all have me thinking twice about it because I see the point for 10th place and not on the list as well. It could probably just go either way. Either he really explodes or he really flops this season. So it's hard to tell.
Yeah, well, I mean, we both kind of talk about him already, and I want to talk about Atletico a little wider when we get a little higher for another reason. So we move it on there. Patrick, could you give us your third place one time, Mike?
Calafiori. I'm not gonna talk too long about it because I'm gonna give some to John. Also,
You
this is
already talked about this already, though. Like, I feel
You
like
talk about
every pod,
Calafiori.
every pod where you talk about California, you give the
Oh,
reasons why you think this signing gonna be great. But yeah, go ahead.
yeah. So all I'm going to add to the previous reasons that I've given is something that we've seen already. Timber is super injury prone. Zinchenko is super injury prone. I think they're going to really rely on Calafiori's fitness this season just to be able to feel 11 men now, boy. But he's an excellent player as well. He looked really good when he subbed on, and that's why he was higher than Marino for me. I think he'll be a bit more important to the system. Especially given that I feel like there are going to be some injury problems over there at left back. So I think they're going to lean on him a lot. And more importantly, if Gabriel ever does decide to get injured, he can slot in there as well. So yeah, I think Calafiori, number 3.
Yeah, I hear the reasons, bro. I don't have him on my list, but not for any
Oh,
reason other than, well, sorry. One, I was trying to do one person per the team, and I do think that I think with Calafiori that there is a scenario where that if Timber does stay fit, or if Zinchenko ever rediscovers his form or whatever, that there can be patches through the season where I could see him used differently, or even used for Gabriel, and God forbid he ever gets injured, right?
mhm,
But with Marino, it was more a case of I think that he is the solver of a specific problem, and he isn't,
mm,
in my mind at least, not competing with anybody. He has come to be a starter in this team.
mm.
My third place was then Gundogan for the reasons that he had said from
Oh,
before.
I love that.
But also because like again, you factor in get somebody like this for free, like that scare me more than if they went and spend I don't know, boy, like 50 million on Joe Pedro or something. Like just as an example, right?
100 million on Paqueta.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yes, all of the above. How you feel about Osimhen going to Turkey by Salek?
Yeah, that is number 155 on the top
On the
top
list,
sign. Yeah.
that's my number 2 of the Galatasaray.
But yeah, for everything that I'm sorry that Brandon has said before, and all that is to say, like, he is everything that you could have ever asked in a signing, that he can literally play from everywhere from 9 all the way down to 6. And he already knows the system. There is no that adaptation period. There is no acclimatization. There is no learning. Because guess what? He was literally there when he created it all. And so it is a real long time in signing for me, because really actually I didn't need this task that we have on our hands to be any harder, but it is. And yeah, I think that he's probably the perfect signing that they could have made to try and fit multiple roles. So yeah. Brandon, what was your third place, bro?
My third place is somebody that Daniel mentioned a little bit higher up, and that is Michael Olise. I think that I held this opinion from the time he was being shopped in the market, I think that wherever it is he went, he would have stayed there for the rest of his career. And I still hold that opinion. I think he's going to be at Bayern for the rest of his career. I don't think he's ever going to leave, mostly because he's going to succeed at Bayern, and I think he is going to only grow and become a better player at Bayern. I also think that Bayern have not had a player like Ribery since this signing, and I think he's that good. And I think
Yeah.
that the wingers that they have relied on was more goal threats rather than creative playmakers. And I think Olise is something that they have not had for a while. I think it's something that the Bundesliga seems to be showing that you require in the league. Once a lot of teams that have those types of players tend to succeed. And for me, 50 million, I know it's a lot of wages and everything, but I can't look past his age. I can't look past the impact. I can't look past the long term effects this is gonna have. And he was a sought after player by everybody. Everybody wanted him. So
Mhm.
for the fact that Bayern got him, I have to put him at 3.
Yeah. There's a few times now we mentioned Bayern and we mentioned Bayern signing. The jumper from Bayern here is obviously that they should be getting back their crown as the league champions. But are we feeling positive about company, or is it that we expect a company to get sacked and they bring in somebody else and that person might win the league?
I think it's more of a we know. Like I think everybody is under the impression that with everything that Bayern has done this season, that they have to be winning the league. So regardless of by the end of the season, we know for sure if company will be there or not. I think mid-season would be way too soon for them because Bayern don't like to admit their mistakes as a club. The only time they ever did that was Nagelsmann, which turned out to be a mistake. So I think that they will end up like keeping him for the entire season, and at the end of the season, based on what has happened, then they will know if he's the right man or not. Because we look at our Bayern team, and I mean, we all love Leverkusen, but let's be honest. 9 out of 10 times that team should be beating that Leverkusen team. We know how good the team is, but we're looking at Bayern right now and we're like, this is real firepower. This is real proper team. The only thing, and I don't think Leverkusen have a super great defense, and neither does Bayern. So going the opposite way, that's the only way I'm looking at it.
Yeah, and I mean, even as you mentioned that, I just wanted to say that I have found Leverkusen window to be kind of underwhelming. I'm not sure what the financial state was, and I know they spent like nearly the whole window trying to sell Jonathan to Bayern, but it didn't really look like they had the finances to probably go there. Like signing, like I was looking at them, right? Signing players like Alex Garcia, who was part of the Girona team last season, good, but I didn't feel like he really moved the needle when they already have like Xhaka and Palacios and stuff. Then you look at the attacking side, they made was Terrier, a League One stalwart, but not really someone I ever like. They will have fire. They signed on even Madueke from PSG. Like it didn't really feel like one that felt like he moved the needle. So all that to say, all the pressure to me is definitely on Bayern to win this league this season. Patrick, anything that, or we can go on to your turn, I believe. Yeah.
So my nah, going on to my second. But
Who's it, Ed?
Calafiori.
All
Right.
right.
Yeah. No, I think Bayern, depending on how the company thing goes, should be winning the league.
Yeah.
Based on
But
class.
but if we're
Kane, are
talking
we
about a
squashing
player's
yet?
pers- if we're talking about a player's perspective, though, like
Yeah.
player on paper, that Bayern
No,
team
so
have
that's
to
what I'm
win the
saying.
league.
Is it
Based on
seen?
the
Yeah.
quality of the players, based on their class, they should do disgusting things to that league, right? But side point, and I don't know how you all feel about this, but I feel like Kane has kind of dropped off a little bit. I don't know if that Bayern move like just took
Bro,
him
I
out
saw
of
I
the,
saw uh I saw a thing about somebody talking about how Kane is on the decline.
I think he
I saw
is.
I saw something about that. That's interesting. That might be a topic for another pod, but I saw
Yeah,
a thing about that.
yeah. But yeah, I think on paper, it should be Bayern, but I don't really believe in company at all.
I
So
mean, so the last lineup that we had from him was flat out a back three, or well, I think it's a back four, but Kimmich just ended up playing in midfield or something. So with Guerrero, Kim, Upamecano, then Kimmich, Pavlovic, Gnabry, Olise, Musiala, Tel, and Keane. Well,
mhm.
that is our attacking lineup for sure.
And Gnabry looks good so far. He
He
started the
has been
season
looking
well.
good, yeah, yeah.
Um, but I don't know why. I don't know. I don't know.
What's your second choice, Pat?
No, this is why I said it's a disrespect to Daniels all over the country because I have Daniel more at second. For
Okay.
every reason that I said. But I'm very excited by this. And the only thing that I'm going to add is, again, I don't think I'm a fan of Pedri hater, because I think Pedri is like
But he's a
super
Pedri hater at this
talented.
point, though.
You know,
He's
no,
a
I can't
Pedri
hate on
hater
my
at
own
this
players,
point,
man.
though.
I can't
Because
hate on
he complained
my
about
own
this
players.
man like a year now, you know.
But hey, it is what it is. The
It's
thing
not
is,
for lack
though,
of talent, and I know that. I know that.
it's
You know,
not.
so
It's really just he's a man stuck in between now, boy. And
yeah.
I really think he got robbed of some of his developmental years that should have
But to be
put
fair
him
though,
down a specific path.
I think the second game that you all played this season, and he played a bit deeper. I thought he actually was pretty decent that game.
I
I'm
know,
not
but against
sure if that
easy
is.
opposition though.
Yeah, I don't think that's for him long term. But
And you know, this is where I'm going to hammer it home. Man. For Spain in the Euros, when Pedri got injured and almost took his spot, that is the moment where I told people Spain really have a chance to go all the way now. And it's again, it's not because Pedri is trash, you know, it's because Olmo actually scores goals. And how else to win games without scoring? You know what I mean? When you compare Olmo's statistics and Pedri's, dog, on paper, it don't look like they should be in the same class because almost somehow finds he has a talent for finding the back of the net. He has a great eye for goal. And he has good technique as well. But then when you watch them play, you know, it's like it's chalk and cheese. Pedri is so much more talented than him. But as Brandon rightfully said, Olmo is made for this Barcelona system under Flick as well. They are balling out for a player that could be behind Lewandowski and just benefit off of all the pockets that Lewandowski creates by stretching it and just by being lower. You know what I mean? And I think over the last season and the season before, there was no one to really exploit those pockets from a goal scoring point of view.
yeah,
And that's where I'm going to leave it. I think almost the man to do that. And he's already shown that he can. For Spain, he scored for Barca as well so far. Uh,
yeah,
if Barca is going to make a title charge, the partnership between Olmo and Lewandowski is going to be what makes or breaks it for me. As
and
talented as Yamal and those other fellas are, they are going to pitch in. Trust me, they are. But I think the goals from Lewandowski and Olmo is what's going to make or break it.
yeah, and I mean, I think that again, another person I had one second was for like the same things that you said. On top of all that is like we've seen how they started this season. We saw how preseason went for Flick. This is like the most archetype profile that he would have wanted to play behind Lewandowski. You know, not exactly the same to Muller, but very similar to like how he used Muller when they won the Champions League under Hansi Flick. And so I think that this is what moved the needle for me of yeah, Barca will be good, but like put them into being title challengers. And they started the season on a stormer, and he
Mm.
has contributed to that. And I think that as Flick goes up, as this Barca team goes forward, that he will be a key part of it as long as he avoids injuries. Because the other thing is that as we watch this Barca team over the last 2 seasons, I think we saw how much they lacked end product. And he's somebody who specializes in being in the final third and getting that end product. And as you see players like Yamal grow and Rafinha being an out of form, I think that we could see again once he stays fit, more consistency from him and Lewandowski as they push past a bit forward. So yeah, Sonic, what was your second place?
Well, I think I'm gonna have the shock of the century here.
Let's
Um,
go.
my number two signing of this transfer window is Federico Chiesa, and I think that he is going to be one of the biggest signings of the season. So, and I'll tell you why. The man, let me give you some players who were signed out of Italian players who were signed who cost more than Chiesa. By the way, Chiesa cost 12 million. By the way, right?
Mm.
Moise Kean went to Fiorentina for 13 million euros. Caleb Okoli went to Leicester for 14 million euros. Bellanova went to Atalanta for 20 million euros. Retegui went to Atalanta for 22 million. Frattesi went to Inter for 29. Buongiorno went to Napoli for 35. And Calafiori went to Arsenal for 45.
Honorable mention, that
Um,
Borjono fella is pretty good, eh?
yeah.
Yeah,
Good
and
things
so
about
and
Napoli.
yeah, he's named after a pizza, bro. Good job. But anyway, the main point is that this guy, all those players I've just called for you, this guy is better than all of them put together. This guy has been ruined by a reputation that he didn't even create for himself. People just assume that after he got an injury, he would just turn to trash. But it's exactly the opposite. he has come back and he has looked pretty good. People thought Wirtz would have been terrible after his ACL injury, but look at how Wirtz is right now. Wirtz is one of the best players in the world. Federico Chiesa for 12 million is a bargain. It is one of the best signings of the window. People are sleeping on how good this is. People think that because Salah is the player ahead of him, that he is not going to play, that he is not going to get minutes, that he is not going to score. It is exactly the opposite. This Liverpool team is going to thrive on the fact that they have so many attackers and so many different types of attackers. And the level of quality you're getting from a player like Chiesa in times where you need to give Salah rest or any other player who requires a rest, that is huge for them. And I don't think people are really deep in how serious of a transfer this is, because we have let one of the best players from a top country in the world, in Europe, go to Liverpool for 12 million. Understand what I'm telling you there, John? You could have signed Chiesa for 12 million and give him Saka some rest. Daniel, you could have signed him and get a better right winger than any of the players that you have, except for Yamal, right? I could have signed Chiesa for 12 million. Anybody, Newcastle could have signed Chiesa for 12 million. But guess what? Liverpool did it. And they were the only team that were willing to take the gamble. And I think it's an incredible gamble to take, because you're getting 100 million potential player for 12 million. You can't go wrong with that. You cannot.
I mean, I completely see the rationale. I'm not gonna lie. You probably might have sold me as well. Maybe I shouldn't have this man.
And
well,
the
I
reason
didn't give my number one yet. So
the reason I have him at 2 is because I also think this is one for me. Number 2 and number 1 show the gaps within the market, because you can't tell me that a player of Chiesa's quality should somehow in this day and age go for 12 million euros. You can't justify that to me. That's for me is why he's 2. That's why he's number 2.
I just not sure how fit he is, boy. And that's the thing. And like we've seen so many players come from the Serie A and not do well, which is the one thing. But then the other side of it is that, with his injury-prone concerns, bro, I'm not sure. And then there's also the space to make the impact. Like there isn't a world where he's gonna start over Salah like on a regular basis, right? Now to come in and take minutes off for him is more than enough. But I don't think, and I guess the same reason I even have Sterling in here, I don't think somebody who is signed to be somebody to help take minutes off the top man was enough for me to justify putting them in the top 10.
Wait, but why are we rating him off as a left winger though? Why? Like, no one seems to talk about the fact that he could take Diaz spot if Diaz ever play mad.
But then it also has Gakpo there, see. And
dog, I don't know if Gakpo could do what Diaz and Chiesa could do, to be honest. Like, the way they did stretch games, not really Gakpo. Gakpo might more be at like where Jota playing right now. You know what I mean?
Fair enough.
John, I want to say something, right? Seriously, right? What does Anthony Gordon give to Liverpool that Chiesa doesn't?
Staying fit.
Okay, the football reasons.
No, but that is part of the reason they signed somebody though.
Yeah, but John, how many? You know how many games he played in the league last season?
20.
No, he played 34 games in the league last season.
Oh wow, I didn't know that. So then,
yes, so that's what I'm telling you. He has been destroyed by a rep that he didn't create for himself. Like I said, everybody assumes that he did his ACL and he's no longer the player he used to be, but he's still very good. He's a very good player. He's one of the most explosive players in the world. He plays for one of the top teams, top nations in the world. He is probably, and you could probably make an argument for it, he's probably one of their top players. And he's gone to Liverpool for 12 million. Name one big European nation with a player who's going anywhere to one of those top clubs for 12 million.
Fair enough. I feel like you convinced me there too.
That's a great argument, huh?
Yeah.
No,
I did not realize he played in 33 games last season.
The fitness is looking good.
Yeah.
I was gonna
ask yourself then why they was willing to sell him.
Because he's not part of the plans. It had nothing to do with making money. It had nothing to do with anything. Motta just told him that he wouldn't be part of the plans, which is why I found it remarkable that nobody went in for him. This is like why would you not? Why would you not take a gamble on 12 million for a player like that? Your upside is huge. Your upside is huge.
Yeah.
Why would he not even be in the plans? I mean, this is a Italian, not just an Italian international. He's starting for Italy.
And
You know what I mean? And he's one of them.
And he started in the Euros win. He was starting in the Euros win.
He was the man.
Yeah. All right, guys. First place. Anybody didn't have Mbappe?
Well, I was going to ask you, right? Even before we even move on to first place, because first of all, I had Ivan Toney to Al Ali as my first place, but a couple of guys that maybe we all left out. I was surprised nobody put in like Savio and
Savio was on the cusp for me. Like he really was. He really was. But to me, I think Gundogan was a bigger signing than Savio. Because
I mean, Gundogan is for free.
Yeah, so I mean that, and I would have if I didn't have Gundogan, I would have put Savio. So that was another one.
Yeah,
I feel like there were a few that we all didn't put. Because I have all of them.
Honestly, my so I made
nobody put Ugarte. CDD.
Yeah, nobody put any Man United. No Man United signings. Nobody put any Man United.
I don't think they are top 10. I don't think they're top 10
signings. I thought Onana was like 8th and 5th. I think from last.
Yeah. I had Amrabat in one last year too.
True.
I'm surprised nobody said Endrick. I thought that would have been an interesting one too.
You know what it is? I forgot that he signed this season. That is literally that. Because we've been here about it since Jan.
No Chelsea signing, surprisingly.
And it wasn't for options.
Yeah, exactly.
No, wait, I have Neto in my honorable mentions. Because I have Neto.
Yeah. I think one of the ones I wanted to put, like really and truly, I think I wanted to put Fulkrug really badly. But it's just because the first 3 games I've not seen him play. That kind of determined from putting it. But if I had to put a West Ham player as well, I would have put Todibo because I think that's a real good signing from West Ham too.
Yeah.
You know who made it into my honorable mentions also? Scott McTominay. Because I could just see it working. Energy and stuff.
Did they actually get to sign Billy Gilmore too?
Yeah, they did.
I think that's a good midfield.
No, that Napoli side might be real wet to do. But
there's Bulldogs in the midfield.
Oh, another one I wanted to put was Jurassic to Dortmund.
We don't even talking about the first. We got 3 honorable mentions and we don't talk about the first.
Sorry, John.
Because we all have the same.
My consideration too, but
we all have the same first, dog.
But
he went for free.
Yeah,
exactly.
Free. But like, is it because like this was default for you all, right? That when you're mini list, look, somebody have Mbappe caliber going first. I'm going for free. Sorry, had to be first, right?
To Madrid also.
To Madrid, right? So, what we feeling about like the impact so far for him? He only got off the mark. Actually, he only got off the mark in La Liga in his last game. He did score in his first professional game for them, in the Super Cup. So fair enough, but. Do we think it's a case that he did gel together? Could be a little civil war that could end up breaking out for somebody to get through? Somebody could end up being on the bench and look at the leave next year.
I mean,
and you have that?
Right now the civil war is with Rodrigo, right?
Yeah.
That's right now. The man got snubbed. But hey, look, I think there was always going to be growing pains. And we all predicted that as well. And we shouldn't be surprised not to see it. And that's all. Still the top signings. I don't even think it's close. Like there was no debate in my mind at all.
Yeah.
Madrid getting Mbappe for free, even though they had to deck out his entire family in brand new Richard Milles. It is, fantastic signing. They'll probably win the league because of him, or maybe not because of him. I don't know. But he is
because of Olmo. Have faith in the Olmo.
Right. Yeah, and I mean. Look, I'm going to leave it short because I feel like everybody should get to say something about Mbappe. But he's a game winner, and it makes complete sense for Madrid to acquire someone of his personality, in my opinion. I'll leave it there.
Did any of you get to see any part of the France-Italy game by chance?
I saw the goals. I didn't watch the game.
Honestly, but I don't expect it to be like this for Real Madrid. And I really do think for Real is more growing pains. But like any setup where they have Mbappe trying to play as a 9-9. Like I just think it's such a waste of his powers, and it's not a a good use of somebody of that caliber. He is a winner. He is on course to become the World Cup top scorer. Like and winning it at 18 and all what he's already accomplished. And I just think it's such a poor use of him. But I don't think that's what it would be with Real Madrid. I think eventually they will go back to playing split strikers like they was last year, and he would just be one of the two. And Rodrigo and Endrick end up playing support cast to him and Vinny, which is unfair to Rodrigo for his quality. But I think that's just kind of where it will end up being eventually.
Rodrigo should just do the Brazilian thing and move to Barcelona in January. Play on the left. Where he
Dog,
wants to.
me
Take
I
from the
tell you,
10.
that would be so bad to bring back something like that, dog. Where a man will
I'm
to
all
cross
for
the
it.
border. Don't imagine you
I'm
go
all for it.
Rodrigo, Lewa, and Yamal versus the Real Madrid one, dog. Like, dog, that actually would be so cool, because dog, nobody dare cross our border again, Like,
Yeah, man, don't
that
do it.
don't,
But
man, don't
I
do it,
don't put it past Brazilians, bro. I don't put it past Brazilians. Them
Dog,
could do it.
even simple thing as I remember when Ronaldo was coming back to the Prem, it was City was trying to get him, and like he literally called Rio to tell him, "Hey, City try to sign him and see if United can sign him." So because he didn't want to go to the rival, like. But yeah, brother, anything you want to tell him back as we look to wrap up?
Yeah. Quickly, I just want to say, when you're going into a team that trying out the newest formation in the world, having a left wing, a mid left wing, and a left wing center forward,
Forward, yeah.
yeah, that is definitely going to have some teething issues. But at the same time, good players know how to play with good players, and there's one thing we know: Mbappe and Vinicius are very good players, and I think everybody is now under the impression that Rodrigo is a good player as well. And I can't wait until it actually does click for them, because it will be very scary.
It would
And
be
it's
extremely
not just
scary.
it's not and it's not and this signing, and I think the reason we all have him as at one is not only because of the season, but the fact that he could potentially stay there for the rest of his career. Like, there's no up from Real Madrid. I think this is very similar to when we had Bellingham. Some of us had Bellingham at first last season,
Yeah.
which is the same reason. There's no up from here, and he has reached the pinnacle, and it's just for him to win everything else. So I mean, the teething issues, we all, like Daniel said, we all have known that this was going to happen, and it's just a matter of time. It's really just a matter of time.
Yeah, cool.
Ooh, you know what I might add though to this one? They have, and as we predicted, all three of us as well, they have looked better with an actual number 10 playing in the number 10. It's unfortunate that they don't get injured, Bellingham. But to me, the attack has looked way more fluid. Even though the attack is not perfect, it looked a lot more fluid with I saw Gula playing at the number 10 and
what's his name?
Raheem.
Raheem,
Yeah.
Yeah. And those guys seem like they stitch the midfield to the forwards a lot better than Bellingham does. I'm also interested to see what Bellingham role is going to be this season.
Well,
very interested to be honest.
I looking forward to seeing when Camavinga come back fit, how he is incorporated. Because I think while nobody could ever, come close to what Toni Kroos has done, I think he's the closest in terms of somebody who's willing to stay deep and try and conduct play and spread play around a lot more akin to what Kroos would have done than anybody else in their squad, So I think that has harmed them a lot, not having Kroos because he retired and then Camavinga getting injured. Like they have had some issues progressing the ball through the team. So yeah. Closing comments. Anything you want to mention before we get out of here?
Who won the transfer window?
You didn't hear? It's United, bro. Them the transfer window. Them signed like 8
Nobody but they win. I love it.
Yeah. I don't know, but I think so I was listening to this pod bar and they were saying that how it's really interesting now when you watch the spending of the big three in the Premier League, City, Arsenal, and Liverpool, that it's not like any of them had PSR issues, but they didn't spend money. And they say how they think that they are aware of something that is coming with PSR, or all prepared for something in 2025 summer window that we,
Mhm.
as the general public, just probably aren't privy to as yet. You know,
Fair enough.
and so I think because Mbappe went for free early in the window is our number one signing, and rightly so. After that, I don't think anything ever came to match. Last year we had Jude at the beginning, and then the Rice saga between Arsenal and City, and then we had Kane, who actually finally left Spurs and moved.
Yeah.
And then I don't think it was the season before, but probably the season before that, we had some big move, and then Messi moved, and then Ronaldo moved,
Yeah.
and like stuff like that. I don't think that
Crazy
we
stuff.
had that progression this summer, and
Yeah.
yeah.
Bro,
So,
especially since the Mbappe thing was something everyone saw coming since like January.
bro,
Like
everybody
it's
was
been
just fed
public
up.
info.
Everybody just was fed up. Just wanted to see it happen, or not even happen.
Yeah.
Just final conclusion. All right, guys. I
No,
think
but it
we'll cut
leaked. It leaked that was happening. Anyway, yeah, sorry.
No, that's really it. So yeah, guys. I will be back to cover the usual football stuff at the weekend. I forgot to mention it, but if you want to join the community, well, actually at this point you kind of go on a wait list because somebody went and shared the link too much. So we kind of have the group on a bit of a pause right now. But yeah, if you made it this far, okay, I think we can something. We probably looking to do a fundraiser for Christmas to probably help out some kids and stuff like that. So look out for more information on that to come. So yeah. Catch you guys next time. See you soon. Take it easy. Later.